Welcome back to another one of our vacation decorating videos. Today we're working on Tank Grunt's room. Now, one of the things that initially kind of surprised me once I was looking at his room was the fact that his is actually smaller than Rip's bedroom, and Rip's bedroom also has direct access to the stairs to like sneak out, but the more I looked at it, the stairs are also very close to like the general's room. So the general would catch on if Rip was trying to sneak to the stairs. Tank's room leads to a bathroom that leads to an outside set of stairs, so it makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, initially I was like, I wonder why he doesn't get the biggest room as like the favored child. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, yeah, that does make sense. His room, for the most part, turned out how I wanted it to. There was a couple things that I wanted to download that I couldn't really find, which was sad. The broken links, things like that. I mean, Sims 2 is an older game, and so it stands to reason that there are going to be downloads that used to exist that we're just not going to be able to access anymore. Which is sad, but that's why I love Sim File Share, because for the most part, most of those things don't get taken down even if a creator leaves. Which is something, I mean, I get it's a personal choice, like if you're a creator and you want to leave the community and you want to take down all your stuff, that's your choice, but I just never understood it personally. Like, why not just leave it up? It's not going to hurt anything. Like, if you want to leave, that's fine, like, leave, but why take all your toys and go home? I don't know. Anyways, so again, I left the same bed. I'm going to do that for all three boys. It just makes sense in this house. I'm not going to change the floors or the walls, because again, like, I see this as military housing. You're not really allowed to do that. They're all consistent throughout, so I'm working within those constraints. I thought about giving him a more colorful bedspread, but I really didn't see anything I liked. I thought about giving him something more solid gray. I really kind of waffled a bit on the bedspread for him, but ended up going with something kind of black and white, which fit the overall idea I had for him. I very much wanted something Spartan and clean, because this is Tank Grunt we're talking about. Like, he's going to have a neater room. No matter what kind of person he is, he wants to make Daddy proud. I thought about camo as well, but I just didn't like it. It wasn't the right kind of camo. Some other things that did not make it into the room itself, I thought about maybe like birdhouses. Like, I got a very nature vibe from him just from that daisy picture, because I'm trying to get inspired by what's there. And what he had was a picture of a daisy. Which seemed an odd choice, like, of all of the things that could have potentially been put into his room. Like, they could have put just another piece of exercise equipment, they could have put a toy car, like, they could have put a lot of things, and the decoration that they chose to go with was a daisy picture. So I was like, well, maybe he's into, like, botany, or hiking, or camping, or, like, the outdoors. And I really leaned into that, so I thought about birdhouses. I didn't actually put those into his room. I definitely didn't want there to be any toys or like old kind of nostalgia, the way that I did in Rip's room, where there's like an old toy squirt gun and things like that that he just kind of kept throughout the years. I didn't want any of that for Tank's room. Tank strikes me as kind of a minimalist who gets rid of things, for sure. Also, I had the worst time finding an end table that I liked for him. Nothing went with the bed, which is frustrating, and I wanted to change the bed because of that, but I couldn't. It didn't work, but yeah, he strikes me as a minimalist. He actually, the characterization that I ended up going with him reminds me very much of my older brother, who was also in the Navy, but even before he was in the Navy, he would always give things away, and he just didn't like to have a lot of items. So I was like, and I just kind of ended up leaning into that aesthetic for him. Yeah, me and the end table struggle. It happened for a while. We're gonna ignore that. I also didn't put a ton of workout stuff in his room, because his room literally adjoins to the fitness rooms. It just didn't make sense that he would have all of that in his room too. Like, he's a bit of a brown noser towards his dad, but like, that's overkill, and his dad would also see it as wasteful, I feel like. Buzz is interesting to me, because like, I don't feel like he's like intentionally malicious, and like, he doesn't go out of his way to be mean, but sometimes he does. Like, I don't know, he's an odd one for sure. Like, he's hard for me to get a hold of sometimes, character wise, which is why I'm glad I'm not doing any of the adults. I'm just doing teenagers. So yeah, another thing that did not make it in just because I couldn't find the CC. I later found it doing something else that I was doing, but I thought about giving him an inhaler just because it was kind of entertaining to me, but I couldn't find it. But just like a bit of weakness that, you know, his dad wouldn't have liked. I was also contemplating doing a quick picture recolor of like Lila Grunt, just so that would be like his one defiance of like having a picture of his mom, but that would require me actually taking a picture that I liked, and I just didn't want to do it, so I didn't. He also didn't get a closet. I thought about it, but I just didn't like this space having a closet because he already has such a limited space, and so I just decided not to do it because it's such a long, narrow room, and if you put a closet in here already, it takes away so much. That item that I just put down probably doesn't work as an end table, but it looks like one, and I liked it a lot better than what I had, so I was like, yes, I can put this down. Because none of these spaces are meant to be functional. I'm not even trying. They're just meant to be decorative spaces. What else? I'm just kind of mentioning some things that I still see as aspects of his characters. They just didn't necessarily make it into the bedroom as forms of CC, but I still see them as part of how I would view him overall. I definitely, camping, hiking, I feel like that's an acceptable activity via his dad, so it's something that he does quite a bit. But obviously I can't like put a tent in his room, so and there's not really like a folded up tent piece of CC that I could find, so I didn't end up putting anything like that in his room. I did find like some maps and things to kind of represent that, but yeah. Because I did toy with him getting a closet. If he did get a closet, I was going to put like a top shelf that had like a bit of a folded up blanket that was meant to be like a superhero cape that he got from his mom, and a couple other bits and bobs, but it didn't happen. Because I think that Tank actually probably was really close to Lila. Rip was as well, but I think that Tank really was a mama's boy. He was just so afraid of his dad that he made sure that he was everything that his dad wanted him to be, but he was probably more attached to his mother because grunt men just aren't pleasant, like, as adults, so I'm sure his grandfather wasn't all that great either, but yeah, Buzz was not the favorite parent. You can see I've kind of got the basic layout that we're going to stick with here. I've got the bed right by the wall that's in the hallway. He would know that even though he wasn't fully expected to keep track of Rip, like, it would be a lot easier if Rip did not sneak out, because if he did, they were all going to hear about it, so it's better to just have his bed right near the wall. The walls are probably pretty thin, so he would hear it if his brother went down the hallway. Kind of went mid-century with some of the furniture. Lots of kind of industrial elements as well. I really wanted to use these mid-century wall prints, but they didn't work out. I thought of maybe like giving him some sort of photography hobby, since I was having him be sort of into nature, but it just didn't really make sense that he would have like this expensive piece of equipment. And that's the other thing, is I feel like Tank very much minimizes who he is as a person just because he's scared of his dad, and so he feels like if he just is invisible as much as possible and asks for as little as possible. That's why all of his hobbies are things that don't require much in terms of equipment that he can't provide himself. Well, then his dad won't notice him and he'll be able to just be at peace. I wanted him to have a bookshelf, and I like that round one. I just haven't been able to find a room that I like it in yet. I end up taking it out of this room and putting a different one. I've tried to put it in a couple rooms now. I just really want to use it, and it just didn't work out. But I liked... yeah, I end up going with the one that's kind of boxy. I thought it was a little bit too oddball for Tank at first, but I'm like, yeah, why not? Yeah, a lot of things that like I would like to put in his room are just too big. Yeah, I thought about the exercise bike, like, fine. Another item that I really wanted to put in was, they were conversions, I think, from The Sims 4. It was like a drone. And the link was broken, and I was so upset because it would have been so perfect. Because I think his dad would, like, find that to be acceptable because it could be used for, like, training purposes. I also really wanted to use that yellow wardrobe, and I couldn't, and I was devastated. But yeah, like a drone, that's something people use in the military, so like learning how to use one now would be beneficial to him. But I just couldn't find a link that worked. I wanted him to have a wardrobe. I really didn't want to take that out, but I just couldn't. Because of where the bathroom door is, and the windows, and the bedroom door, like, I just couldn't fit it in a way that I could tolerate, essentially. Like, I didn't like it. It felt too weird. And I also didn't like any of the ones that I had. They just were not. The closest one I liked was that, but I didn't think he'd have anything space-themed in his room. He just really wouldn't. Not only because that was kind of Rip's thing, but also because his dad is so anti-alien. I just don't think that Tank would even risk that. If I had some solid recolors of that were not space-themed, maybe, but yeah. And then I was trying to think of, like, I mentioned it before, but just like spare items that aren't necessarily like core bits of his personality, things he's interested in, but like still things that you end up collecting. But it was kind of hard because I could just see him being the kind of person who gets rid of things and doesn't keep that kind of clutter. So like old toys and stuff, like he wouldn't. And then he was not going to have clutter on his floor, so I was just like, this room is going to be hard. I thought about Legos because I was like, okay, well maybe Legos, but again, I just wasn't right. Wasn't right. I don't know. Overall, I think I got as close to the truth of Tank Grunt, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. Tank Grunt for me as I could with the CC that we have. And I think he's an interesting sim. Like, I don't think he's unredeemable. I don't think any character technically is unredeemable. Like, yes, they can make some choices that are unredeemable, and then it's like, well, now you gotta live with it, but you know, he's in a difficult situation. They all kind of are, and he's just doing the best that he can. And you can I like that you can take it so many different ways, too. Like, there's no one way to handle any of the families in The Sims. Like, they just kind of give you a bit of a story to go on, but they don't tell you, okay, well, this person is this person is that. Like, there's a hint, but, like, it's not really a hint one way or the other. It's just like, I wonder what this is about. Yeah, now I'm just grabbing a ton of plants. Ton of plants. He was going to be a plant kid. I was also very sad that planter could not be put on an OMSP. Another thing I was sad about is that this greenhouse thing, I really wanted to find a way to fit it in his room. And I was like, well, I can just move it. But I end up not keeping it, spoiler, but I really wanted to keep it. We don't actually end up keeping as many plants as I wanted, only because, again, like, it just didn't make sense. Like, he would not have a mess. He just wouldn't. I think he would want to, and, like, maybe Tank Grunt in 5 years, who's not living with his dad, is a bit messier and has a lot more plants and things, but not while he's living with his dad. Like, I think he's just a bit too afraid, and he doesn't want to rock the boat. I do put this in, because I think it's a happy medium, where he's got the plants, but it's still very neat, very contained, very orderly. That's actually the hardest part, I think, for decorating for Sims that are neat, because we rely so much on clutter to make spaces lived in, so like crooked shoes or books that are like a little bit off, and so when you're trying to do like a neat sim, like how do you make it actually look lived in and not like a set? And it's the one time where I'm happy that a lot of the times deco, like, shoe sets that we get are, like, perfectly aligned. And it annoys me because I don't perfectly set my shoes. I don't. I just throw them. But for Sims like this, it's perfect. It's perfect because they would. They would take the 2 seconds it would take to line up their shoes. But yeah, his room is not as decorated, obviously, as Rip's for that reason, but also just because it just didn't make sense. I tried to cut out a little bit of my shopping because I like to show it, to show kind of my thought process, but I get it can be a bit boring. You can see I put some kind of curtains up as well. But yeah, lots of green. That little military utility box, I definitely wanted that, like the Foot Locker thing. I did put some little weight racks thing kind of in that corner because it just was an awkward space. And also butterflies. That was a big thing that I decided, like, because I knew I wanted to go nature and I wanted to go plants. Since I didn't go with the birdhouses, I did want to have, like, another kind of nature thing. And I'm like, well, what if he's really interested in just kind of, like, bug collecting? Because that's a really kind of orderly thing if you think about it. Like, people who do collect insects and who do mount them and everything, like, that's a very precise skill. And it is a skill. Like, you have to be very on it to be able to do that kind of thing. You can't be shaky. This is me trying to put that in an OMSP and being very sad because I wanted it on the desk. So yeah, I was like, that seems like something that it would be an okay hobby because, you know, he's out in nature, he's displaying his kills, but it's still beautiful. And I really liked it. I liked the juxtaposition of it. Yeah, put that for the bed, the shoes. He's got a few little workout things, but not very many. I was really having to edit down the plants, and I was sad about it, but I knew that, like, I had to. And at first, I was making, like, his desk space and things a little bit messier, until, like, I stopped and I'm like, wait a minute, this is Tank. This isn't what you wanted to do for him. Like, things should be lined up, they should be a lot more orderly and precise. And so I kind of had to stop and fix it, which I think is kind of a good thing to mention too, because sometimes we do, like, I feel like everybody does this, like, you get carried away decorating and then, like, you kind of get lost in it and you forget kind of who you're decorating for, and it's really easy to just forget, and then you look at it and you're like, this is not what I meant to do and this doesn't look right. I also do give him just kind of some little terracotta plants here, just so that there's more plants in the space. So yeah, I did take a step back and kind of fix the desk so things were orderly and in line. I got rid of a lot of the magazines and things that were less neat. I kept a few things that were not absolutely perfect, but a lot of those things were just removed. Yeah, you can see the desk, like, there's just things that are not perfectly aligned. Like, I've got the radio a little bit off kilter. I've got a stack of books that's not perfectly aligned. I'm like, no, this isn't right. This isn't what I wanted to do. This isn't my intention. And sometimes it's fine. Sometimes your intention was wrong and you need to correct. But for him, I was going the wrong path and I knew I needed to self-correct. And I'm glad that I did, because I think that was the right call. It did need to be lined up a lot neater than it was. Same with the chair. I had it in the corner and I'm like, no, it needs to be lined up. It needs to be a specific way. I think that book is one of the few things that I let stay kind of a little bit crooked. Yeah, you can see lots of, like, nature guides here, maps. travel guides just make sense because they look like they could be a nature guide or like a guide to a park or something. And here's where I was like, oh, this doesn't look right, because they're lined up, but they're not lined up properly. So then I was like, oh, how do I get this? Struggle. She's struggling. So I moved the map. And then I was able to kind of line things up a little bit better. Because I do think he would find that soothing, just like lining everything up on his desk and making sure everything was just right. These framed butterflies, of course, are not perfectly straight, but they go with the theme of the room, what I was trying to achieve here, so there was no way those were not going in the room. I had like a razor and stuff just because he does kind of shave his head, and I thought maybe, you know, some personal grooming stuff, but it made more sense to have that like in the bathroom if he was going to have it. I did give him a harmonica as well because it's mentioned that Buzz does like barbershop quartet singing, and so I feel like Tank would try to get in on something similar to that. Obviously that's not the main thing that he does, but it's a little something. And also, since he wears that face paint, I wanted there to be like containers of some sort of makeup to, you know, show that. I had to put the helicopter because the drone wasn't working and I was sad, so I put the helicopter instead. Yeah, I thought about like little things, just like ping pong, or just, you know, it's not his world, but maybe he plays ping pong, like, you never know. But I put the binoculars, again, could go with hiking, same with the walkie-talkies. I do really like how this room turned out. I'm just looking at different things. I'm like, I do like that. I do like that. It's the little details. Actually, I think I do keep the camera now that I think about it. I thought I removed it, but actually I do keep it. Just because it could be something that he takes pictures on his hikes and stuff. And then just like a water bottle. And we're almost to the fun part, which is all of the pictures. But sadly, I do remove the rest of the plants. I don't keep any of them. I wanted to, but he wouldn't keep them. I put this like big cactus looking one, and all of his pictures, of course, are for the most part framed and matted and very neat and well put together. Like, that was important to me. It's me just kind of editing what I want. I was so frustrated that those butterflies did not have black frames, though. So frustrated. I was like, come on. And then the custom ones didn't have frames that matched the Maxis ones, and I was like, oh no. But I think they still look okay. I just did light ones mixed in with like the brown ones, and it's alright. There's enough brown tones, I think, in the room to kind of pull it off. But they're gonna move all around the room because it takes me a minute to kind of get them exactly where they need to be. Because of course that looks terrible. I was like, no, that's awful, no. Plus I wanted more. I mean, I downloaded so many recolors of these, might as well. All the butterflies. But yeah, we're pretty much done. I do keep the military posters because obviously that is a huge part of Tank's life. His dad's in the military. It's very much expected that he's going to be in the military. I don't think he's ever questioned that he's going to be in the military. It's just a foregone conclusion kind of thing. I'm actually liking now the idea that he takes some of the pictures hanging in his room. I'm trying to think of where to put those posters. That's where I was struggling. I was like, where do I put these posters? Because there's not like a lot of... It's an awkward shaped room, for sure. All of the rooms in this house are. They're like long and weirdly lean. But overall, I'm really happy. Like I said, I think it turned out as best as it could. I think that I really got his personality in there. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know what you think about the butterfly thing, like, as well as just in general, the nature thing. And obviously I derived it just from that one little picture, but I think it fits. I really do. I think it's something that would have been acceptable to his father, and, you know, that's all he really would have had, so he would have gone with it. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think about that, you know, and about all of the rooms. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I'm trying to find a good place with them without really getting much feedback, of course. It's kind of hard pre-recording all these and not getting any feedback whatsoever, but I'm really enjoying them. Like I said, I'm not making over the whole neighborhood. That's not going to happen. I just feel the need to keep saying that because I'm scared I'm going to come back from my vacation to those types of requests. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Definitely give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.